I don't think I remember my first crit, but what I do remember is right from the get-go, it was like I was just born to be on a bike. Like
Mhm.
it just felt right. You know, like this is perfect for my body and my attitude. And it was like rediscovering that freedom, like going on training rides, especially in more rural areas, was like rediscovering that freedom you had when you were a little kid and you like maybe rode farther than you thought you were going to ride, and testing my body out in new ways. I had been a track and field athlete in
Okay.
high school and college, and I was like super skinny and just then my body changed and I became much more muscular and I just couldn't run as fast, and I had to find a sport that would suit my body type, and cycling was it.
The muscle does it to you every time.
Muscle. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like muscles.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to the ladies because I remember my first crit. I spent 8 years racing. Crits are by far my favorite
Uh-huh.
of the events just because the strategy, the speed, like just I don't know, the closeness. It's over in an hour. Maybe
Yeah,
it's because it's just over in an hour.
over.
No, but yeah, and I was just explaining to the girls, I go, I can't fluff it up. It's going to be the hardest race you've ever done. And, like, but that scares people. I'm like, but it is. I mean, I can't make it, like you'd be saying, like, Sylvie, you didn't tell me it was going to be so hard. I go, well. So what prompted you? So, moving on in your cycling career,
Yeah.
you started cycling for the United States, and that's what brought you to Worlds. So how'd that feel?
So it was the World University Games, and I was really flattered to be selected for that team. We were up in Edmonton, Canada,
Oh
and
my gosh, really?
yeah, that's where they held it. And
Wow.
it was really like a much bigger event than I thought it was going to be. They had,
Uh-huh.
huge opening ceremony, and Prince Charles and Lady Diana were there, and
What?
they were in our athlete village. I don't know where I was that day, but I'm still in touch with some of the teammates, and they're like, the highlight was meeting Charles and Diana in the athletes village. I'm like, where was I? Was I training? Was I sleeping? How
In
did
the
I
bathroom.
miss that? How did I miss that?
Oh no. Really? So was it
Yeah.
around their velodrome?
Yeah, they had events in the velodrome. The road
Okay.
course was, I guess there's a river going through. I remember it was like
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
kind of like
Uh-huh.
Montreal, the Montreal Olympic course, down and up. There were, I remember Greg Louganis was there, and that was very tragically, I think what people remember that World University, that Universiad for was a diver died. He hit his head on the platform and died. Yeah, unfortunately. But the
That's
racing was really fun, and it was so cool to meet. All of this is pre-social media, so we were only getting our news about other racers either word of mouth or through Velo News. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, that's who you are. It's so nice to meet you. Because I wasn't really a great road racer, even though they put me in the road race. And so I was meeting all of these like West Coast people, and it was really lovely to meet the other athletes from around the world. And Sylvie, I had gone to, not as a competitor, but I went to the 76 Olympics in Montreal just to watch. I was,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and
I
I
was
was,
like,
I'm not that old.
like, well, I didn't realize like your career had started so early because I'm
No.
like 76. I was in just I don't know, 4 years old.
I
Five.
was a teenager. I was a teenager, but
Yeah.
I remember I took the bus up from New Jersey,
Okay.
and yeah, got to see most of the track and field events. I saw Bruce Jenner, the then Bruce Jenner, win the decathlon.
A man Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, he was a man back then.
Bruce, I mean, it was amazing. It was so
Wow.
inspiring. I think already then the wheels were turning. Like, I really want to be as good as I can be as an athlete. I hadn't yet discovered cycling. It was,
Hmm.
the Eric Heiden thing hadn't happened yet.
Well, it probably happened at a good time. So how far did you go in your cycling career?
So I went to, I didn't live that far from the velodrome in Trexlertown that time. So I raced a lot there. I lived in, this is a good dovetail, I know what we're going to talk about. I moved to Los Angeles in 1983 and trained there and everything was already getting supercharged because the Olympics were coming. And so I hadn't realized this, but like prior to an Olympiad, already athletes were coming months in advance to train there and to ramp up. So the quality of the racing was so high in Los Angeles. Like, I had been a good like regional rider. When I got to LA, I was just getting like spit out the back, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah,
what?
whole other level, right?
It was. I'm like, what is going on here? And the thing that really helped my training is going out and consistently going to the Encino Velodrome. And I remember at first I would just be able to do like 1 or 2 kicks at the beginning of the pace line there. And then eventually I got stronger and was able to like do all the workouts. And then we would do this big training race around the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. It was big, flat, kind of like, for your American listeners, very similar like to the course at the National Capital Open, which goes around the ellipse in DC. Big, long, huge oval, but the pace very, very high. And I remember that second year, I was like, it was first race, I was near the front. I'm like, look how strong I am this year. And we were setting up for the sprint, and somebody clipped me. And because I was near the front, I mean, this is like more than 50 riders in this. I went down, and I just remember everybody piling up on top. It was like just,
Oh my gosh.
it's like every Kurt Rider's nightmare. And
Yeah.
when I finally got everybody off me, my arm was just like, wah. I had broken my arm. And after that, I just felt really discouraged, and I moved back east. But I already had, my arm healed quickly, and I had quite a good bit of fitness from all of that. But as my writing career went on, I realized I'm getting better, but everybody is like, ah, ah,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
never bridged that gap, even though I was chasing as hard as I could.
Oh,
So
I
I
know.
became painfully aware of my limitations, and also my focus was changing by then. That I
Mhm.
was looking beyond cycling and just couldn't put all my eggs in one basket. I was in grad school, and that was already taking away some of my focus. And it was like this, I'm like, I just can't spend all my time and energy driving all over the place or flying all over the place to track meets and crits. And so already I was getting a little distracted. So I retired in 1988, which is probably about a good time for me to stop racing.